Hello there, I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com and welcome to How WWE Should Have Booked, where I look back at infamous WWE missed booking opportunities, then talk about how I would book them differently, because I'm a smartass. Go on, have one. Let's start by saying, Happy May 19th, everyone. It's the most wonderful time of the year. I hope you've got all your presents gathered around your flaming tree and the carolers have been killed. We're talking about Kane, and this time, how WWE should have booked Kane's Unmasking in 2003. Now, by 2003, a lot had happened with Kane. Let's see, he debuted coming out of hell. He ripped the front door off the cell. He teamed with Taker, fought with Taker, Tory warmed his baby maker, learned to speak, the big red freak, champion for less than one whole week. Then his outlook got much better. Royal Rumble record setter, smiling patriotic loony, then a goddamn Kane-a-Rooney, Katie Vick. Now we're in 2003, became tag champs with RVD, then lost the titles 1, 2, 3, then live on Raw at MSG that fateful day, June 23, Kane unmasked for all to see. So Kane was challenging for Triple H's title. Eric Bischoff made it a mask versus title match, and because of naughty Evolution shenanigans, Kane lost and took off his mask to reveal a dude with smudgy kind of face makeup and kind of weird old man hair. He looked like a clown who'd been down a mine. Zod. Then he went mental, turned on RVD, set fire to JR, beat RVD at SummerSlam. He just sort of went mental backstage. He tombstoned Linda McMahon, then got in a feud with Shane McMahon, electrocuted his balls, beat him in a last man standing match at Unforgiven, then beat him again in an ambulance match at Survivor Series, where he also buried Taker, leading to WrestleMania, where Taker came back as the dead man and they had a slightly underwhelming match. And I can do it better. Now this is one of those big broken storylines. There was actually a lot to like in this one, like Kane tombstoning Linda was hilarious as balls. He looked like a monster throughout most of it. It's just his motivations were a little fuzzy, and I think they bungled it with the whole, out and out heel turn thing. Ultimately, I would have left the mask on. That's just me. I think he cuts a more impressive figure when you don't see his face, you don't know what he's thinking. I think, impassive Kane is always way more imposing than creepy, weird eye Kane. That's just me, less is more. I just find it a bit comical when, he choke-slammed Eric Bischoff off the stage, which did look cool, and then the camera zoomed in on his face and he was doing this. I'm sorry you had to see that. If you're going to change Kane in this huge way, removing the mask and this really powerful thing that it gives him, this presence, then you need to replace it with something equally as powerful. And they are right, what's more powerful than I'm going to kill everybody? Which they started doing, tombstoning Linda again. But they didn't tell the full story, and the full story is removing his mask is like opening Pandora's fucking box. So let's start at the beginning. First of all, I'm okay with him losing the mask on free TV. It happened at Madison Square Garden. That's where momentous shit happens. A couple of notes about the presentation. Maybe trim out the strawberry blonde goatee. Maybe. And maybe not the Krusty the Clown perm. These are just thoughts. How about just bald? Because to go from lots of hair to no hair, that's quite striking, I think. Second of all, RVD shouldn't be there for the reveal. I think it should be Evolution and a bunch of security guards, forcing Kane to do it. He takes off the mask and then he cleans house, throwing everyone over the top rope. Bye! Bye! You bye! But not Triple H. He never quite gets his hands on Triple H, the man who, removed his mask. He never quite gets his hands on him until late in the story. So yeah, return to the unstoppable Kane that he was when he started, before the learning to speak and the Kane-a-Rooney. Go back to him being a force of nature. So yeah, you can't force Kane to keep the mask on. You can't force someone to wear latex every single day. So yeah, keep the storyline that the scars are, in his mind, that he doesn't have a horribly burnt face, but also play up the fact that the mask was the only thing keeping all that madness contained. I would actually reduce his time on TV. I wouldn't have him wrestling matches for the first month. Not even squashes. I'd have Kane only appear in a controlled environment where they can do kind of cool pyrotechnics or stunt work and make sure they get it bang on, and have him just do savage run-ins, surprise attacks, flames just popping up when you least expect it. Do have him attack everyone, refs, heroes, villains, but don't turn him explicitly heel. Because ultimately, heels, when they're fighting good guys, they get conquered, humbled, and taken to their limit in the match. And we don't want to have that happen with Kane yet. So basically, he's wreaking havoc. Anyone tries to stop him, it's a bad day to be them. But also, it's not kind of blind fury, which had appeared in the original storyline. It's simply, he is a man on a mission, and that mission, destroy Evolution. So we start with Bischoff because he booked the mask versus title match, makes sense, and we're going to nick what happened in real life, him being chokeslammed off the stage, but this time it's going to be into a dumpster, and the dumpster Kane is going to set on fire. Big smoke, flames, but it's not a silly kind of, oh my god, he murdered him WWE thing. The people managed to get Bischoff out in time, and he's coughing up smoke and he looks terrified, but we're not doing the whole did or did he not murder Bischoff thing. Kane is wearing his black towel because that looked cool. Again, the more you obscure Kane's face, the more unpredictable and terrifying he seems. Next week, backstage, RVD tries to stop him, takes the black towel off his head. In doing so, Kane picks him up and throws RVD through a plate glass window and then just looks at him and walks away. So, yes, collateral damage happens, but the focus of his attacks are always on Evolution. He runs down during their matches. His pyro basically haunts them, showing up in their locker room, in their cars, everything they love burns until eventually enough kind of people have been caught in the crossfire, the McMahons have to send Kane home. They have to put him on lockdown under house arrest. Because one of the images I love from how they did this storyline in real life was the image of Kane in chains, with the chains around his wrists and his ankles, being led like he's on death row. That looked great. So we keep that, we see Kane kind of chained up, just ready and waiting to get out. So it's always at the expense of Evolution. Other things that can happen, again, in the lead up to SummerSlam, like Triple H gets to the arena and he hires people like Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Hare. He says, have some money and I want you to bodyguard my locker room. Basically, just make sure that nothing happens. I just need you to watch out because Kane's on the loose. And then after his match, when he gets back to the locker room, he sees that it's been torn apart. Chuck Palumbo and Sean O'Hare are like chained to the wall, unconscious. Written in red on the wall are, "You will burn." Just cool stuff. Also, a nice idea, just before SummerSlam, Evolution are saying, it's summer, everybody, biggest party of the summer. Wrestle SummerSlam, you don't. Anyway, and they celebrate by buying a brand new summer house, the Evolution Summer House. A lovely wood building, very flammable. Kane burns it down. Live on the Titantron, we just see this big summer house burning and collapsing in on itself while Kane just stands there looking at the camera, face expressionless. So yeah, in the lead up to SummerSlam, one of the big Raw main events we have is all of Evolution versus HBK and Goldberg in a 3-on-2 handicap match. Yes, it's only 3 in Evolution because Batista was out with a triceps injury, I believe at the time. He doesn't come back till October. Bums. Anyway, in this match, Kane's pyro goes off, which distracts Triple H. He's looking around. Where did that come from? Spear from Goldberg. Basically, that's the theme. Kane, without making too much of an appearance, his magic somehow still costs Triple H. And then he costs him big at SummerSlam. We get the Elimination Chamber match, and Goldberg goes on a tear, he doing his thing where he eliminated everybody. That's great. But then we got Triple H getting a sledgehammer, and he knocks down Goldberg. Doesn't pin Goldberg with one sledgehammer shot because that's some bullshit. Instead, he knocks him down. Then all of Evolution, Flair and Orton break into the Elimination Chamber. They tie up Goldberg. They're hitting him with a sledgehammer over and over again. The match isn't over, and then boom, pyro. out comes Kane. He walks down to the Elimination Chamber, rips the door open, you know, like he did at Bad Blood all those years ago. He forces his way in, he does boom, sets fire to the pods. You basically store little flaming machines underneath all the pods and they just go whoosh, burning, full of smoke. And then he cleans house with Evolution, and then he finally tombstones Triple H. Goldberg frees himself from his chains, spears Triple H, jackhammer. Goldberg becomes the champion. So Goldberg's a champ and Kane has cost Triple H big, and that means Kane feuds with Triple H. Now we cut the Shane McMahon storyline. Now I know there were lots of fun things in the Shane McMahon storyline, and you know, Shane jumping off something big. Yeah, crazy bastard. But ultimately, Kane becoming this monster and then immediately mixing it up with the untrained son of the owner, and you know, Shane actually making Kane look like he was in trouble at some points. For the long-term benefits of making Kane this huge main event monster, I'd just cut it. So instead, Triple H is furious. He wants Kane destroyed, burned, cut into tiny pieces and shoved up his nose and then fired into the sun. What is my life? He demands from Bischoff a rematch with Kane, who books it for Unforgiven. Very apt name of a pay-per-view. Both men neither can forgive each other for the things they've done. So instead of Triple H versus Goldberg at Unforgiven, it's Goldberg defending his title against Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho, both men he beat in the Elimination Chamber. That's your main event. So the co-main event is Triple H versus Kane. Now, I was thinking of what to have as a stipulation because the feud was intense enough to really need one. I initially thought Inferno match because that's Kane's gimmick, but I thought Inferno matches are never really that good. So instead, I went for a type of match which, again, normally aren't that great, but in this case might actually do the job that we want. And that's a lumberjack match. Now I know what you're thinking, lumberjack matches are boring as piss. They can be, but in this case it really fits the storyline. Like, for example, Triple H pays off the entire heel locker room to be his lumberjacks. You know, he was willing to give out $100,000 for a bounty on Goldberg's head in the storyline, so why not have him flash the cash and get everyone around the ring to be on his side? So not only is Orton and Flair going to be there, everyone's going to be there, and Triple H says, I want Kane dead. I want him get him. Also in the lead up, you don't really see Kane all that much, you know, just shots, flickery camera shots of like circles of fire and like creepy dolls and little girls singing la 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 la, ring a creepy. So finally, Kane versus Triple H, Unforgiven. Kane beats up everybody. He does that thing that Kane is really, really good at, which is kicking everyone's ass as they rush to him in one big slobber knocker pile. Chokeslam, chokeslam, big boot, chokeslam, 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 tombstone, chokeslam, uppercut, throw over the top rope. He does that huge thing and he finally catches Triple H with a tombstone, pins him 1, 2, 3. Finally, after most of the year, the masking has been avenged. Then, we're not done. The next night on Raw, because, you know, despite the whole electrocuting the bollocks thing, Kane is a really good heel. That's when we start to make the change. After he's had this huge dominant display and everyone's like, who can stop Kane? That's when we bring in the big dog. Because Kane is still running amok on Raw, you know, he can't be contained. He's mad, remember? And so Bischoff brings in a big gun from SmackDown. He brings in The Undertaker. You done it now, you gonna make a big mistake, and I can't allow. So Undertaker returns to talk to his brother, and he says to Kane, you never needed the mask. And Kane snaps and attacks his brother. Then at the No Mercy pay-per-view, which is a SmackDown pay-per-view, remember, Undertaker is still fighting Brock Lesnar in a biker chain match for the WWE Championship. This time, Kane interferes and costs The Undertaker the victory. Not Vince McMahon, because that didn't really make any sense. And you build this storyline, Kane saying to Undertaker, this is who I really am. But this biker chain, this is not who you really are. You are my brother. We are the brothers of destruction. Embrace it. Embrace the madness with me. Undertaker refuses, but he's like, you think I'm a small dog? I'm a big dog. This is my garden. Get out of my garden. So, you know, they fight each other, lots of images of tombstones and, you know, lots of occult imagery, etc., etc. Survivor Series, Buried alive match. There's only room for one Brother of Destruction in the WWE. Undertaker versus Kane. And simply put, Undertaker, maybe he has gone soft. As the biker, he cannot compete with full-on mental Kane. And Kane beats him clean and buries the Undertaker alive. Boom! Big load of flames coming out of the grave. You know, rah! Which then makes more sense for the dead man gimmick to come back, because The Undertaker wants a rematch at WrestleMania, because the only way that The Undertaker can contend with Kane, being that Kane is the biggest monster on the roster right now, is he has to revert to the dead man gimmick. WrestleMania 20, that's what happens. Welcome back, Undertaker. Kane has hopefully been made to look like much more of a badass this time around, with a focused story, a good betrayal, and just so much power. He's a force of nature. And that's how I would book the Kane losing his mask thing storyline. Do you disagree? If so, tell me about it in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Adam from WhatCulture.com, and I'll see you soon. WhatCulture.com are releasing a new magazine about wrestling, and it's called Wrestling. It'll have 140 pages of timeless wrestling content, including a brand new How WWE Should Have Booked written by this virulent son of a bitch. It will also have a list of the 100 best wrestling matches of all time compiled by What Culture staff and wrestling insiders. So the magazine is available to pre-order now. Follow the link in the description and enjoy WhatCulture.com's Wrestling.